YouTube, what's happening? It's Tuesday, June 11th. There are 15 games to talk about. Drop a like, subscribe if you haven't, because we are still doing well. Yesterday, lost a little bit of units. It's going to happen. You got to think of sports betting like the stock market. You're going to have ups and downs. You're not going to get rich quick in a day. I mean, if you want to go do one of those crazy $1 million parlays, by all means, have fun with that. But around here, we're giving out statistical data. We're doing 14 units in a week. We're at 50 units in a month. We're doing great around here. Look, I want you to take the data that I give you. You don't have to play every play I play. You ain't got to play none of the plays I play, but I want you to play smart. I want you to take these stats and go out there and do the best bet you can make, because that's what I'm trying to do. We're trying to be green at the end of the day. That's all that matters here. There's 15 games to talk about. Let's go ahead and jump into that first one. All right, first game, we got Atlanta and Baltimore. We got Free with a 2.93 up against Suarez with a 1.83. Looking at the betting side, Braves are favored, 7.5 the total with a little bit of juice on that over. Looking at the data, 53% nervy, not worth talking about, we pass on that. Baltimore, clear advantages when it comes to batting recently. 6.3 runs versus the Braves, 3.0 runs, that's second versus 22nd. Big advantage. Batting average, 208 for Atlanta for 22nd. Baltimore, 292 for third. These are all in the last 3 games. Before that 7-15, you see the trend line. Baltimore's trending up nicely. Atlanta's starting to trend up a little bit from where they were last week. And on strikeouts, they're both striking out 9.7 times for 24th. We will glance at some strikeout props for both pitchers just to see what we have here. Moving over to pitching, I put an extension to make it so it didn't blind you, because I watched my video. I blinded myself because you go from black screen to white. Not cool. So I put an extension to turn it black. So dark mode Chrome extension is amazing. So here we have Max Fried, 293 with a 102 whip. You can see against Boston, dude struck out 13 dudes. Dude went off in this game. 6'9", 257. He's going up against a team that is striking out 9.7 times to 24th. We will be looking at some free strikeout props. Suarez, looking at his 4.83, 1.2, not looking good. So we're probably not going to look at a Suarez prop, but we'll look at Fried's props. Now, looking at them as pitchers overall, 293 with a 102. 2 earned runs, 0, 1, 3, 0, 4, hits 4, 7, 3. He doesn't give it that many hits. Doesn't really get that money. You know what you're going to get with him, basically. Even though he struck out 13, he still gave up, a couple earned runs and some hits. Suarez, on the other hand, only has 30, what was it, like 30 something innings pitched. 2, 1, 0, 0, 0. Before, you can tell bullpen guy, but then he started getting the rotation now. So he's getting about 5 innings. That's all he's going to get. So for this one, looking at the data, everything leans Baltimore. Pitching's about equal in my mind, even though Suarez has better numbers overall based just on this right here. You can see based on ERA and the whip's the same as Fried. I am going to take Baltimore on the money line at this one because they are underdogs in this one, and all the odds lean for them to be better. Fried had a great game, sure, but we're going to take Baltimore money line, Fried K prop, and move on to the next game. Next up, we got Washington and Detroit. We got Parker with a 3.47 up against Maeda with a 6.25 advantage. Washington off the numbers right there. Looking at the betting side, we see Tigers slightly favored at home. 8.5 is your total with some juice on the under. Looking at the data, we have 64.2 nerfy in this one. That's not good enough. We pass on that. Washington 5th in the last 3 games, getting 5.7 runs. Detroit 12th at 4.7 runs. They're both trending upwards though. Batting averages, Washington 264 is the team in their last 3 games for 9th. They are trending up. And Detroit is only batting 200, which even though that's 200 is 24th, it's still better than at 169 like it was in the last 7 games. So they are trending up themselves. And on strikeouts, 8.7 for Washington, 7 for Detroit. Advantage Detroit in that one. Looking at the pitching side, we see that Parker is coming in for Washington. He's got a 3.47 with a 105 whip, 2 earned, 3 earned. Before that, 3, 3, 3, 2. You know what you're going to get with Parker. He's going to give up a couple runs. That's just what he does. Maeda, on the other hand, look at his stats, 6.25 with a 1.41. He did 2 pitches, and that was it for that game. 5-0, 7-1. So he is going to give up a lot of runs outside the one game where he had 5 great innings. But besides that, back in April, 0-5-1-3. So he's up and down. He is the definition of a roller coaster in this one. So looking back at the data here, we see that we're not looking at strikeout props for either one. We're not looking at an Murphy in this one. Washington is better offensively. Washington has the, in my opinion, the better pitcher. And with the data being the way it is, statistically, and the odds show that Washington should probably be favored, but they're not. I'm going to take Washington money line in this one. I'm not going to take a total in this one, and we're just going to move on to the next game. Next up, we got Chicago and Tampa Bay. We got Italian with a 3.47 against Eflin with a 4.14. Betting markets currently have the Tampa Bay Rays as a decently favored home team, 7.5 with some juice on that over. Data, 57.3 Nerfy, pass, not good enough. Chicago's batting, they're getting 3 runs a game for 22nd. Tampa, 1.3 for dead last at 30th. Batting average. Chicago's batting 255 for 12th best in the last 3 games. Tampa, lovely 138 average for 30th. So we have an advantage Chicago on both stats. And on strikeouts, 8 versus 11.7. So we will be looking at Italian strikeout props because of how poorly Tampa Bay is swinging the bat right now. Looking over at the pitching, let's look Italian. Strikeout wise, last few games, 6, 4, 3, 4, 2. Not a strikeout dude. So we're not going to be taking no strikeout props with him. Even though Tampa's swinging, the dude doesn't have experience right now, I don't want to back it. So as a pitcher himself, 3.47 with a 1.36 whip. You can see 10 hits and 5 earned against the White Sox of all teams. Gave up that much. 6 hits, 3, 9 hits, 3, 6 hits, 3. Like the last game, you know what you're going to get with him. He's going to give up some runs. That's what he does. On the Eflin side, 3, 2, 9, 4, 6, 3, 6, 1, 6, 3. He's also going to give us some runs. So you can see both pitchers will give up runs. Both offenses, statistically, Tampa's terrible. Chicago's not good. So we have 2 things that are kind of hard to read in this one. Over under 7.5, we're going to pass on. I can't even take a side in this one because both pitchers give up runs. Both offenses, you can see, are struggling to score. So this entire game is going to be a pass for me. Next up, we got Cleveland and Cincinnati. We got McKenzie with a 4.17 up against Suter with a 3.86. Betting markets, light favorite for the Guardians, 9.5 total, juice on that under. For the data, 57.3 Nerfy as a pass. On the stats, Cleveland 5.3 runs a game for 8th in the last 3 games. Cincy 3, 22nd. You can see the trends have flopped. Cincy is going down hard. Cleveland's going up. On batting average, Cleveland batting 270 for 5th. Cincy is batting 182 for 28th. Again, the trends are going in the wrong directions. And 7 strikeouts for Cleveland and 7.7 for Cincy. Not really much of an advantage either way there. Looking at the pitching side, Cleveland sending out McKenzie. We're not looking at strikeout props because neither team's really striking out much. So we're going to avoid those, even though McKenzie is 7, 9, 5, 5, 5, 6. If you want to look at him, maybe if you can get a 4.5, maybe a 5.5, by all means, I'm going to pass on that probably unless the good number shows up. Last game got rocked by Casey. 9 hits, 5 earned runs, 4 earned runs, 3. He's getting worse as he goes. So he is struggling. He's due, if you want to believe in the due theory, he's due to have a bounce back game, but I don't really like to believe in that. I like to believe in the stats, in trends, and he's trending in the wrong direction. However, he gets to go against Cincinnati and their terrible offense. So that might be a game to help him bounce back a little bit. Suter in this one, as you can see, is a bullpen guy. He comes in, he does his 1 inning, maybe 2, but normally 1 inning and that's it. So since he's clearly having a bullpen game, looking back at the odds, Cleveland not doing a bullpen game, much better offense. I'm going to take Cleveland, even in their pitcher. McKenzie is struggling. I'm going to back Cleveland on the money line today. We're not going to take a total on this one, just Cleveland, and move on to the next game. Next up, we got Miami and the New York Mets. We got Luzardo with a 5.3 up against McGill with a 3.0. Looking at the betting side, we see that the Mets are slightly favored at home. 7.5 is total with a slight bit of juice on that under. Data, 67.1 Nerfy, almost at 70, but not good enough. We're going to pass on that. Miami is 28th in runs in the last 3 games at 2.0. Mets are 5.7 for the last 3 days and the last week, so they are batting pretty well. Advantage the Mets. Batting average, Miami's batting 170 for 29th. Mets are batting 269. Again, same number they were batting in the past week. And over the past 2 weeks, the Mets have been pretty consistently batting. So trend line even for the Mets, Miami going down. That is a big advantage for the New York Mets. 7.3 versus 8 on strikeouts. Neither were to look at. Not looking at strikeout props in this one. Looking at pitching, Luzardo with a 5.3 with a 1.25 whip. Got destroyed in his last game. 9 hits, 9 earned runs, only 2 strikeouts. Before that, 7 hits, 3 earned runs. Before those games, dude had 2 great games. But now he gets to go up against the Mets, who, as we see, statistically are 5th in runs and 6th in batting average. So I expect Luzardo to have another probably bad game. Looking at McGill, see how he's going to do. 3 earned runs with a 1.24 whip. He got a little roughed up too. 7 hits, 4 earned runs. Before that, 3-0 over 7. Great game against the Dodgers. Washington roughed them up. I mean, we're almost looking at an over between these 2 teams, but the fact Miami's doing so poorly, I cannot back that. So looking back at the odds, we have the Mets 145. We are going to take the Mets on the money line. We're not going to take a total. We're not going to take a run line. We're not going to take a nerfy. So just Mets and move on to the next game. Next up, Philadelphia and Boston. We got Wheeler with a 2.23 up against Crawford with a 3.51. Betting markets heavy favorite for the Phillies on the road. 8.5 with some juice on that under. Looking at Zadata, 43% nerfy is a pass. Philly, 4.7 in their last 3 for 12th. Boston fell off a cliff. They went from 6.4 to 3 in their last 3. You let the White Sox shut you down like that? Come on. Look at that. Either way, 22nd. Boston batting 190 in their last 3 as well for 27th. Philly batting 250. They're remaining consistent. Boston falling off a cliff. Strikeouts, 5.3 for Philly for 3rd. Boston striking out 12 times a game for 29th. We are going to look at Wheeler strikeout props. Let's go ahead and jump over there actually. Wheeler, 2.23 with a 0.97 whip. Strikeouts, 6, 9, 5, 6, 2, 11. So we see he's up and down. He could get strikeouts. So we're going to look at the number. I got to see what I would be comfortable taking. 5.5, I'll probably take. Anything higher, I'll probably lay off. I have to look at it a little bit deeper. Other than that, 5 hits, 1 earned, 2 hits, no earned, 5, 2, 6. Outside of his Miami giving up 6 earned and 6 hits, that was wild. But other than that, we know we're going to get pretty good numbers. Cutter, on the other hand, 3.51 with a 1.18. Braves got to him a little bit. 5 hits, 4 earned, 4 hits, 5 earned, 7 hits, 6 earned. He has been struggling his last 3 games, and now he gets to go up against Philly, who's 250 in batting with 4.7 runs. 4.7 runs, so middle of the road. For looking at these odds and everything, I see why the Phillies are favored. They will be going in. I'm going to take them most likely as a money line parlay piece because they're 175. Outside of that, I'm not going to take a run line. I don't trust the teams enough to do that, but we are going to look at Wheeler props, Philly money line, and move on to the next game. All right, next up, Colorado and Minnesota. We got Quantrill with a 3.58, Varland with a 9.18 over 16 innings. Betting markets clearly have the Twins favored at -200. 8.5 for total with juice towards the under. Data, 48.3 nerfy, pass. Stats-wise, Colorado 27th at 2.3 runs a game in their last 3. Minnesota 5.3 for 8, advantage Minnesota. Batting average, 237 versus 260, slight advantage Minnesota. Strikeouts, 9 versus 5. That is second best for Minnesota. 21st for Colorado. Advantage Minnesota. We are also going to look at K props briefly for Varland just to see what he can do because he doesn't pitch that many innings, so we'll see. Let's go ahead and pop over. We're going to start with Colorado first. Quantrill, 3.58 with a 1.3 whip. We're not doing K props because Minnesota's not striking out right now. They're playing great with their bats. 3 hits, 0 earned in 5 innings. 9 hits, 4 against the Dodgers in 4 innings. Before that, 2-2, 1-1. He's pretty decent outside. He gave up 4 to LA. That's not bad. But last game, 5 innings with 3 is great. For Minnesota, Varland's going out. He only pitched 2.2 innings. Had 74 pitches in those innings. 11 hits, 4 earned. 7 hits, 6 earned. Dude gives up runs. That's a fact. That's what you got here. On this one, the stats lean Minnesota pretty heavily. I can see why they're -200. Pitching matchups, they both give up runs though. So what I'm looking at in this one, I'm not going to take Minnesota. I'm not even going to take a side because I just don't trust these numbers. I am going to take the over 8.5 in this one. Sit back, root for some runs, and just move on to the next game. All right, next up is Pittsburgh and St. Louis. We got Paul Skeens with his 3 ERA go against Mikolas with his 5.32. Betting markets, Pirates favored because of Skeens at 135. Over under 7.5 with some juice on that under. Looking at the data, 61.9 Nerfy. We're going to pass on that. Pittsburgh, 4 runs a game for 18th. St. Louis, 6 runs a game for 3rd. We have the trends going different directions. Advantage St. Louis. Batting averages 242 for Pittsburgh, 267 for St. Louis, 16th and 7th. They're again going different directions. Advantage St. Louis, 8.7 versus 8 on the strikeouts. Not really an advantage on that one. Looking at this, just looking at that, St. Louis advantage would come to the bats. Strikeout props we normally wouldn't look at. We are going to look at Skeens just because Skeens has been striking out a lot of people. Let's just go ahead and pop over to him. He has a 3 ERA with a 1 whip. He only pitches 6, 5, 4. He doesn't pitch that many innings, you can see. But he has 8, 9, 3, 11, 7. So we will look at his strikeout props, see what number it is. I would say if it's around, if it's 5.5, yes. If it's 6.5, probably. Anything higher, I'm going to pass on. We don't want to chase 7.5. Yeah, maybe, but I'm not doing it. You can. I'm not. So I'm going to look around 5.5, 6.5 for that number. 6 hits, 3 earned. 3 hits, 2 earned. 6 hits, 1 earned. Nothing. No hitter, basically. So he does give up some runs because he has 2 home runs, 1 home run last game. It was the Dodgers in Detroit. So he's been giving up something. Today he's facing St. Louis, who is middle of the road. Strikeouts, 267 for 7th in batting average and 6 in runs. So they're top 10 offensively currently. He's going up against Mikolas, the 5.32 with a 1.28. 2 earned, 3, 3, 1, 3, 6. So he gives up some runs too in this one. The total is 7.5. I'm not playing 7.5 either way in this one. Side-wise, everything leans St. Louis for the batting side. However, I would say pitching leans Skeens. We will look at Skeens props. We're not going to look at anything else in this game. So Skeens strikeout props, next game. All right, next up we got New York and Kansas City. We got Stroman with a 304 up against Singer with a 276. Betting markets, slight favorite Yankees on the road. 9.5 the total, juice on that under. Data, 39.04% Nerfy, that's a pass. Yankees, 4.3 runs for 16th. Kansas City, 5 runs for 11th. Slight advantage KC, but not much. Anything over a run's not really an advantage. Batting average is 283 for the Yankees for 4th. KC, 248 for 14th in the last 3. Advantage New York. 9.3 for 7.3 strikeouts. Advantage KC. We are going to look at sinker strikeouts, just like we did yesterday for KC, because New York is still striking out a good bit. We're going to look at K props. So today, let's pop all over there. We'll start with Stroman because he is the road guy. Let's start here. Stroman, 304 with a 1.24 whip. Last game gave up 5 runs on 6 hits. 1 before that, 0, 1, 0, and then 4 back with Houston. So he has a bad game. Then he comes back, has a couple good games, 0, and then a bad game eventually. I'm not looking at K props for him. 2, 6, 5, 2, 2. Not a strikeout, dude. Not doing it at all. Singer, on the other hand, go to his game log. You see 9 hits, 2 earned runs, 2, 3, 9, 6, 4. He is all over the place. So we're going to pass on his K props as well. I need consistency for Ks. I need to see 5, 6, 7, 8 multiple times. You throw 2s in there, I can't do it. So we're going to pass on that. 2 earned, 1, 1, 4, 1. You know what you're getting here. Decent numbers here. Pitching matchups, I would say they're about equal. If you had to tell me pick one of these guys, I couldn't. They're both pretty decent. So looking back over the data, we see KC leads in the runs. New York leads in the batting averages. Picks, 145 New York. Can't really pick in this one. I don't have it. Nothing stands out in this one to say pick a side. Data screams confusion. Pitching matchups equal. This game is going to be a pass on everything. Next game. All right, next up, we got Toronto and Milwaukee. We got Kikuchi with a 3.48 going up against somebody. Score app wasn't updated. Apparently, it's Carlos F. Rodriguez. That's his name. Score app doesn't have that apparently. But there are odds for it. There are Blue Jays minus 128.5 total, juice on that under. Data, We see 62% for the Nerfy. That's going to be a pass, not high enough. Even though it's Toronto, I know Toronto Nerfies are beautiful. I'm going to pass on it. So batting wise, 4.7 runs for Toronto for 12th. Milwaukee, 3.3 for 20th. Advantage Toronto. Batting averages 212 to 240. Slight advantage Milwaukee. Toronto's not striking out. 4.3 for first. Milwaukee, 7.3 for ninth. So both teams are doing great strikeout wise. Toronto's really doing great. No props for that one at all. Pitching, we come over. Kikuchi over here, 3.48 with a 1.22. Last few games, 4 hits, 1 earned. Got roughed up by Pitt, 9 hits for 5. And before that, Detroit got him 2. So he's calmed down after his last few games. So he's doing better. Carlos F has never pitched this season. So welcome to the bigs, bruh. You get to face Toronto. Good luck. So we got around here, if you're new here, anytime we have a pitcher like this with no information and it's their first start of the season, we fade them. Unless your name's Paul Skeens, we faded everybody. We faded the guy from the Braves a few games ago and he gave up like 6 runs. That's how it works around here. So look at the picks. We have Blue Jays minus 120. We're taking Blue Jays minus 120. We're not going to take anything else. We're not taking over-under. It's just Toronto money line and move on to the next game. All right, next up, we got LA and Arizona. We got Suarez with a 6.54 and Montgomery with a 6.8. Couple super high ERA pitchers. Betting sides have Arizona minus 175. 8.5 your total with some juice on that over. Data, 45.7 Nerfies a pass. Looking at the stats, 3.7 runs for LA for 19th. Arizona, 4.3 for 16th. No real advantage there. 2.24 for LA versus 2.59. Slight advantage Arizona. 8.3 is the same for both teams on strikeouts. We're not going to look at strikeout props in this one, especially with these pitchers, because if you look at the numbers, Suarez pitched 0.1, going through 7 pitches in that one. Okay. Before that, 2.2 innings, 2 hits, 4 hits, 2 earned runs. It's a bullpen game. That's what LA is going to do. That's what they're having. It's a bullpen game. So we don't know. We're going to get multiple pitchers probably. So who knows what we're going to get. On the other hand, Arizona has Montgomery going out, who gave up 7 hits, 6 earned, and 2 innings to San Fran. 10 hits, 8 earned to the Mets. 2 earned, 4 earned, 3 earned. He's going to give up runs. So we got a bullpen game on one side. We got Montgomery, who's just tossing out runs like nobody's business. So today I'm going to take the over 8.5 because, as you can see, both offenses are decent. They're middle of the pack, and we have 2. We don't know what we're getting pitching today. So I'm going to take the over 8.5. Try to find better juice. Obviously, this is the book I have to use unless I go offshore, but hey, whatever. You could probably find better juice than I can. So over 8.5, we're not going to touch anything else and move on to the next game. All right, next up, we got the White Sox and the Mariners. We got Woo with a 107.53 whip. Amazing numbers. Going up against somebody named Drew Thorpe. Score app, again, was not updated. We'll get to him in a minute. Let's look at the betting markets. Mariners minus 250. 6.5 is the total. It is hard to lay off an over at 6.5. I tell you, minus 140, I don't care. You don't see 6.5s often around here. So let's look at the data. 59% Nerfies a pass. Chicago, 4.7 runs for 12th. Seattle, 6.0 for 3rd. 243 batting for Chicago. Meanwhile, 267 for Seattle. Advantage Seattle on both of these. They're both striking out a good bit, though. 10.3 versus 9.7. So we will look at strikeout props for both these teams. Let's start with Woo. Woo, 107 with a .53. Amazing. Beautiful numbers. Last 2 games, 6 innings, 2 hits, nothing. 3 hits, nothing. 5, gave up 3 to Washington. Other than that, strikeout-wise, 6, 2, 1, 7, 5. He is not a strikeout dude that much, so we're not going to do strikeout props with him. However, Seattle has all the advantages on the offense and the pitching because Thorpe does not have any stats. And as we talked about a couple of games ago, if you're new around here, if somebody's first game of the season, we fade them, especially because they're probably coming up for the minors. I haven't done any research. Unless your name is Paul Skeens, I don't care. We're going to fade you. So this one, we are going to take Seattle on the money line, but we're going to put them in a parlay because I'm not going to minus 250 on a straight bet. That would be weird, but we will put them in a parlay with some other stuff. Outside of that, I think Seattle might get to them early too. I could easily see him putting up some runs. I'm going to take this over 6.5. I'm going to find better juice elsewhere, but I'm going to take over 6.5 in this one as well. Woo, I think should be fine, even though Seattle's stats are, I mean, Chicago stats are pretty decent. I think Woo will shut him down pretty nicely, but I think Seattle might just tee off on this new guy. So we're going to take this over 6.5. We'll take Seattle money line on a parlay and move on to the next game. All right, next up, Oakland and San Diego. We got Sears with a 3.93 against Vasquez with a 5.4. Betting markets, Padres favored at home. 8.5 the total with some juice on that under. Looking at the data, 61.2 Nerfy is a pass here. Oakland only getting 1.7 runs a game in their last 3 for 29th. They haven't been any good in the past 2 weeks, really. 2.8 and 1.5 over the last 2 weeks. The trend line is buried, basically. San Diego, first in runs in the last 3 at 7.3. Their trend line is going through the roof. On the batting side, Oakland batting 196 for 25th. Surprisingly, is better. They're up for 170. They're even slightly better. However, San Diego is second at 298. They are still dominating for the side of offense. So clear advantage San Diego on runs and batting average. Same with strikeouts. Oakland 12 strikeouts a game. San Diego 5.3. Seeing San Diego 5.3 is kind of high for them. They're usually first or second. So clear advantage San Diego here. Looking at the pitching matchup side, we'll start with Sears first. We see his last game, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 6 hits, 4 earned runs, 2-0, 5-4. Sears he's up and down. He's a roller coaster. You're either going to get 0 or maybe 1, or you're going to get 4. We don't know what we're going to get. The fact he's facing San Diego's offense that's pretty potent right now, I'm going to lean more that he's going to give up 4 runs in this one. So that's definitely an advantage for San Diego. Pitching wise, Vasquez for San Diego is 6 hits, 3, 4 hits, 3, 10 hits, 3, 8 hits, 5. He gives up hits, he gives up runs. That's what you're going to get here as well. So the main thing I'm looking at is I'm going to be looking at the over under of 8.5 in this one. I'm also going to probably throw San Diego, probably with Seattle, into a nice little parlay, try to get that to at least some maybe minus 110 number, maybe plus if I'm lucky, see if I can do that. But yeah, take the over in this one because of the offense here. Even though Oakland's offense is pretty bad, Vasquez is not great either. So these numbers are indicative that Oakland should be able to trend line a little bit higher here, maybe try to get 2 or 3 runs. I think San Diego can easily get 4 or 5 runs. That'll hit the over nicely. Strikeout props, we are going to look at Vasquez strikeout props as well. Almost forgot about those. 3, 5, 2, 0. Yeah, pass. We're not doing strikeout props to this guy. No chance. So yeah, we'll do the over. Outside of that, like I said, money line parlay and move on to the next one. All right, next up, we got Houston and San Fran. We got Blanco with a 2.78 and Hicks with a 2.82. Betting markets have it pretty much a pick 'em. Slight favor Houston. 7.5 with some juice on that over. Data 56.1 Nerfy. It's a pass. Houston 5.3 runs in their last 3 for 8. San Fran 3 runs a game for 22nd. Houston is batting first in batting average at 304 as a team in their last 3, 276 per third in the last week. Their bats have gone through the roof. They are on fire. San Fran, not. They are the opposite. They are water. They are ice. Room temperature water, if anything. They are 194, 26th best. They're striking out 9 times a game for 21st. Meanwhile, Houston's only striking out 6.7 for 5th. So we have clear advantages Houston when it comes to the bats in this one. Looking at the pitching side, Blanco's going out for Houston. 5 hits, 4 earned. 3 hits, 4 earned. 1-0-2. So he's gotten worse in his last couple games. Hicks, on the other hand, 2.82 with a 1.19, 6 hits, 2 earned, 7 hits, 4 earned, 1-1. We have the same story for 2 different pitchers. They had decent games. Last couple of games been rough. And now they get to face each other. So looking back at the odds here, we see it's a pick 'em basically. We see it's 7.5. Data says Houston should be better because of the offense. Pitching wise, we don't really have an advantage either way in this one, I don't believe, because looking at these, nothing is standing out here. They're almost the same dude. So for this one, the only advantage we have is Houston batting. I'm going to take that advantage. I'm going to take Houston on the money line at minus 115 and move on to the next game. Our last game, we got Texas and LA. We got Dunning with a 409 and Paxton with a 419. Betting markets are a little weird. All I have is the money line in this one. So at 165 for the Dodgers, don't have a total in this one. So we can't do an over under in this one. So, but we'll look at data anyway. 33% Nerfy, so we're going to pass on that. Dodgers are getting 5.7 runs a game for fifth. Meanwhile, Texas is 3.3 for 20th. 207 batting average for Texas. 226 average for LA for 19th. No advantage really in that one. 7 versus 8 on strikeouts. Again, nothing going and not really going to look at strikeout props for either one of these guys. Looking at pitching, Dunning is going out. 4 hits, 3 earned runs, 3 hits, nothing. 4. Yeah, it's only. He hasn't pitched too much. He didn't pitch much at all in May, so he missed a few weeks. So outside of that, his numbers, he's given up 3. He's had decent numbers. Looking at Paxton, we see last game 6, gave up 6 runs in 1.2 to Pittsburgh, got roughed up. Before that, 3 innings, 4.2 innings. He is not doing too well either. The fact I can't do a total, I don't want to do a side in this one. So this entire game is just going to end up being a pass. And that's it. All 15 games broken down, stats given, leans, thoughts, ideas, and whatnot. If you like what you saw, drop a like, subscribe, leave comments. Let me know any suggestions. I'm open to anything. Let me know what you think, and we'll see you tomorrow. Peace out.